All right, welcome everyone to the inaugural PGA Magazine Golf Genius Virtual Workshop. My name is Ryan Gingro, PGA professional and Vice President of Relationships for PGA Magazine. PGA Magazine and Golf Genius Software are excited to kick off this series of virtual workshops today with our focus over the next 45 minutes on coaching. In addition to special invitations furnished by the Golf Genius team, PGA Magazine has invited past attendees from our PGA Professionals National Club Fitting Conferences and our PGA Teacher and Coach of the Year National Conferences and regional meetings. Thank you all for your support of PGA Magazine and our presenting partners. It is now time to send it over to Alex Berlin, General Manager of Operations, CoachNow for Golf Genius Software. Alex.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm going to give just another minute or two here. I see a lot of people trickling in, so that's great to see. And there's a lot of familiar attendees, so nice to see. You'll likely see some familiar faces on the screen here, and let's just give it one more minute because I know it can be a little bit tough to get in, and I don't want you to miss any of the great introduction I'm going to give. Good to see. We have a good turnout, so it should be fun and candid, and I think you'll get some nuggets out of it for anybody that is a professional. So let me share my screen. I'm gonna go into a deck. I probably won't keep this up for the whole time, but everyone see that? It looks like it's showing up there all right. Cool. So the title of this webinar, Coaching in the Digital Age, Smarter Tools, Better Results. We will try not to go too much into the dark ages of what it was maybe like when we didn't have some options. But what I want to say is, once upon a time, a little over 10 years ago, there was a pro out there. He was a good buddy of mine that had gotten frustrated enough with the tools he had at his disposal and what he wanted to provide for his athletes, that frustration mounted to the point where he actually built something. And that was the early days of CoachNow. We're lucky to have two panelists with us today that are kind of, I guess we could say you would have all been founding members or some of the original. And I think that in many ways, the CoachNow product has changed the landscape of coaching. And what I mean by that is that in the beginning, we were convincing people that communication was key, that it was part of retention, that people deserve stuff. And that's kind of pretty consistent across the board. So we wouldn't be the only tool that would be out there to do these things. There's other options, but obviously we believe in what CoachNow is. And I personally have been fortunate enough over the last 10 years to honestly talk to thousands of coaches across the globe about their business. So it's been a delight for me. I've been super fortunate to have had that experience, and with it comes just kind of a lot of knowledge from what coaches are doing and how they run their businesses. Oops, looks like the deck. Let me try to share this deck again and see if I can get it to actually move forward. If not, we'll just punt on the deck. Let's try. Can everyone see that okay? They can, but it's not advancing. All right, I'm going to punt on the deck. It might work out better anyways, and we won't likely need it. So with us today, we have Doug Hammer, Director of Instruction at Trune North. Doug, you've kind of actually, I think one of the interesting things people wouldn't know is that you've actually put in some international time coaching. For a long time, you've been what I would say, a class act coach and somebody I really respect personally. And then Joe Hallett, 2024 PGA Coach of the Year. Joe, thanks for joining. We know that you're out there today with Q School, and so we appreciate you chiming in and being here with us. Many of you know Joe, so I don't know if there's much introduction, but he did want me to say that if Joe can figure it out, you can figure it out. So what we want to start with, and Doug, if we can start with you, let's just talk about, before kind of this ability to do some sort of digital coaching. You don't have to go into the dark ages, but just what it looked like kind of the way you were doing things before and what that looked like for you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, thanks, Alex, for having me here. I really look forward to contributing and hopefully what we talk about can, give people some better ideas and make their coaching a lot more efficient going forward. Yeah, I've been at Trune North for 18 years. I've been a full-time coach with Trune for 25 years. I did work internationally. I've worked kind of everywhere. Um, but found a home at True North and was a very early adopter on CoachNow. In fact, it had a different name when I first started with it. So um, it has been, an absolute game changer. And if you've taught as long as I have, we all have stories. I went from VHS to CD to I couldn't wait to get to where I could pull a tablet or a phone out of my pocket and not have cords. So um, absolute game changer in terms of time, in terms of sharing information with students, in terms of retention of information on the students. It's been an absolute game changer right from day one.
And let's just, Doug, what were you doing before? I mean, what did it look like for you?
Yeah, so prior to using Coach Now, I had a great big system that required power. It required a couple cameras on a tripod, so it would take 20 to 30 minutes to set up a station prior to my day. We were talking before we started. I had plenty of days where I'm like, oh, I only have 2 or 3 lessons. Do I want to go through all of this rigmarole? Because there's a full hour of my day setting up and taking it down just to be able to provide this service. And then I didn't really have an easy way of sharing that information with them. So I would have to go in at the end of the day and burn a CD or create a Dropbox file or do something to share what we did during the lessons. And it took a lot of time, and it was the way. We didn't know any other way at the time, so it didn't seem like it was that big a deal. But looking back on it, there was a lot of hours I wish I would have had back for sure.
Cool. And Joe, why don't you give us a little bit here? And you're gonna kind of come at it from a little bit different angle, but would love to hear it.
Well, in all seriousness, I wasn't quite as advanced as Doug was. I used to chisel in hieroglyphics on the stone tablet as long as I've been teaching at this point. But literally, we knew that video was part of what we were doing as instructors and how important it is. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but to hear your students say, "I'm not taking it inside," and then show them the video and they look at you and go, "How come you never told me I was taking it inside?" But to have that information and not to be able to get it to the student in an efficient way was, quite frankly, it was adding hours to the day. And I'm not sure at the end of the day if the message that you wanted to get relayed to the student was as vital and as fresh as it was when you were on the tee with them working. And then take in the advent of all the other technologies, and all of a sudden there was this place, as Doug said, it was another name when we started, and literally it was like, wait a minute, this is a spot that can house information and do everything I'm doing with 4 different types of programs. I'm running around with power cords, and I mean, I'm dating myself, but I used to buy, I think it was B&H Photo would sell like 100 packs of VHS tapes that were 10 minutes long, and I had stockpiles of them. And that's the way it went to the student. And the student never ever put it in their VHS machine and looked at it. They had no way to look at it on the course. So this was all about how do you continue the lesson in a better format, and it's grown from there into how can I be there when I'm not physically there.
Mm. All right, so Joe, if you can expand, let's get into what happened. Now we're kind of doing things this way. At what point do you feel like, hey, maybe there's a better solution? I'm not saying what the solution is today, but when do you start kind of looking for that? Are you hearing about it, or what happens that gets you there?
Well, I think there was 2 things. There were, and there still are 3 or 4, I would say, leaders in our industry for video review. And with those players, every year a new feature came out. Oh, it's a shadow feature. It's a flip. You can take the lefty and make him look right-handed, and everybody knows that a left-handed swing flipped over to righty looks great, but back at lefty, you still can't figure it out. So all these video, these leaders were always coming out with different okay, now we can do this. Now we can do that. Now we can put dots. Now we can change colors. And I think most of us as instructors began to kind of hone back and say, give me a clear picture. These are the basics that I need to draw. And how can this be put into some form of file that can get to the student so it doesn't annoy them, shut down my computer for a while. And it was about at that time where, how do I just get what I need? And how do I make it go faster? And lo and behold, I mean, CoachNow all of a sudden showed up, and I thought, oh man, now you can bring in files because they have some of their launch data, which was very early at that point. Used to figure that out with an abacus in case anybody's wondering. But literally, it became this portal where I thought, okay, there is a place they could house all their informations. For the younger students, I'm speaking their language because they get hashtags and they're already used to using this format. And something as simple as it's all there, they can find it easier. And now my job as a coach, when I kind of can go back to them and just give them a little bit of a nudge and go, hey, how's that putting drill working? I know they immediately go back and go, oh my God, what drill was I supposed to be doing? And at the very worst, they say yes, and out of guilt, they go out and work on the putting drill.
Mhm. Doug, get us to that breaking point. Sort of what's driving you at this point where you're thinking, hey, maybe there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, for me, a lot of it was family too. We were just talking. My wife and I just celebrated 20 years. My family is getting older. I've got one in college. I got one going to college next year. But 11, 12 years ago, I was really wanting to be home. I was wanting to get to the soccer game on Saturday and I've got to teach lessons. That's how I make money, right? So I've got to be out there with students. I've got to be doing clinics and teaching. But then, that hour and a half at the end of the day, that I'm sitting in the office and I'm uploading stuff and burning CDs or whatever, just started to wear on me. I'm like, why am I doing this? I should be at home, so that was a driving force for me. I was like, how can I make my day shorter and easier, to where I'm not grinding or going home. If I do leave, then I've got all this stuff on my mind and I got to go back in at, 8 o'clock, 8:30. I got to do this before tomorrow because this final day of a golf school tomorrow, and I've got to make sure all this stuff is ready to go for them because they're leaving at 1 o'clock, or whatever. So that was a big driving force for me is like, how do I need some time back.
Mm, that's great, Doug.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all have CloudShare to thank for that, right? And the reason we weren't doing it prior to that is that CloudShare wasn't a thing, right? And so the engagement and that two-way communication that we were having with our customers or with our students wasn't actually a possibility. So we went from burning CDs to maybe we could get you a video somewhere, but it was really hard to send and it was almost impossible for you to go find it. And I'm not going to say that, CoachNow is the only way to do this. We are fortunate, I think, in our industry at this point that there's a lot of players, right? We believe in CoachNow, obviously I do. And we're lucky to have the two of you that are CoachNow users, but there's other technologies and there are ways to do it. So what I want to drive home before we get into sort of the way you're doing it today and what it looks like, and maybe we can get into some of the use cases, but um, if you're somebody that is still either writing notes or kind of shaking hands at the end of a session and saying, hey, good job, we all kind of want to say, I know for myself, we want to say that you can give that person more, right? And that we kind of built this thing on this whole idea of the forgetting curve, right? And so what that was is that, you tell somebody to do something and then you look down the range and you're like, hey, that's that's not even the drill I told you to do, right? And we're talking 10 minutes after a session. We're not talking the next day or 3 days later, right? So we want to give that person, that customer, everything they can. Doug, you touched a little bit on golf schools, but man, I've seen some use cases in golf schools and it is so cool what these people come away from that golf school with. So if you're running clinics or golf schools, try to get that information in there. It's such a great memory for that customer, right? All right, so CloudShare becomes a thing, and now you got an option. So, Doug, can you just dive in a little bit? Like, what does the day-to-day look like right now using technology, and I know actually you're using the scheduling side as well, so you could touch a little bit on that with CoachNow Academy, and maybe some of the programs you do or some of the really key things for you with CoachNow.
Sure. Yeah. So I've used it for video for forever. And the scheduling is a new thing, and I couldn't be more excited about that just because it's all in one place, and how easy it is, which I can get into that later on down the road. But so my day to day, very simple. I mean, I use it every single lesson, every single person when they come in, they already have a Golf Genius account. Um, that's a big part of the scheduling part, because now to be scheduled they have to have an account, so they already have one, and it's all ready to go. That was always the case doing golf schools or group lessons and stuff like that, because we would do it very, very quickly. We create a quick video for them, do a quick review, so they're always going home with something. We always wanted people to go home with something, and that way we stayed fresh in their mind. They had something they could review. They're hopefully they're thinking about me and True North, when they're out there playing and hitting that great shot. They're going back and reviewing, like, oh, I need to do that more. So every single lesson that gets used, every single schedule now, every single hour that gets booked is through there. Um, the last 10 minutes of every lesson, we're going over everything. I'll video myself doing a drill and demonstrating it. I'll video them doing it so they know exactly what it should look like, so that we don't have that instance where I'm looking down the range 15 minutes later. I'm like, why is he standing on his back foot? Like, why, we would never do that. Like, what is this? It's amazing how quickly they get lost. I created an entire practice group based around that. I've got a year-long program that I call Instruction Club, and it's really all people that were taking lessons from me, not accomplished golfers. They're not tour players or anything, but just weekend hackers that want to be better. And they're taking so many lessons. I was just giving them the same lesson over and over again. I said, you guys just need to practice. So I created this practice group, and in our area, it's not easy to practice unless you're a member at a private club. There's nowhere to go. So it gives them an opportunity, with True North being public, that they can come out and have a place to go. And we use CoachNow in every single session, and we go back in and say, look, when you were playing good in June, this is where you had the club. This is why. So let's try to get back there. So it's just such a great thing to be able to do that kind of stuff with them, and those players, they don't think of it that way, right? They just want to go out on Saturday and shoot their all-time low round, which we all know is not going to happen every single week, but they expect it. So
That's good stuff. I heard one kind of main thing for me and where I was convinced, right? I'm sitting in there and I'm like sending people emails and trying to get stuff. And I had a boss ask me, like, why are you doing that? And I said, well, I feel like these people deserve this, right? Like, I want them to get better. And when you look at it and you start to try to go back and look at that history of a person, if you're not using something that containers this relationship, it becomes really difficult, right? And so you want to have that opportunity both to milestone some things, but to be able to go back and say, hey, where were we at, or what were we talking about? Or if anyone could send me back to when I was in college and tell me how I had my putter set up, I would really appreciate it. Because I don't know if it was really flat or what I had kind of set up, but those are some key things that really maybe from the high performance side, we would even dig in a little bit deeper. But Joe, if you can get into it, and maybe a little bit of the high performance side and some of the collaboration and how that's a possibility, but just kind of what you do and what it looks like for you.
Well, just a couple of things, and this might date me, but as you were talking about where it's come from, it's almost like CoachNow was the Napster for golf pros. It's like you figured out how to put all this stuff into the cloud and get it to us real quickly.
Yeah.
But I love what Doug, honestly, I just wrote that down because the practice group it's those little boutique and unique events that you can create a kind of a community of people. And Alex, if I can kind of add in two things, one of them is on a high level of player, and that would be just a very good amateur, which I think many of those of us who work with amateurs, it isn't necessarily the skill level, it's their commitment level and their willingness to work on the game. And this becomes a special place for them. And it is a special place that I have for professional players that I work with. And I, in a sense, limit myself and keep a community of my professional players. And then I explain what CoachNow is. And usually when you say, oh, I have these ladies from the LPGA on there, that immediately they go, oh my gosh, well, I want that if that's how they're doing. But from your standpoint, one of those key things is those silos or those pockets of information are easy to go back and grab. The student doesn't have to go through, 30 pages of emails and think, okay, was this putting? Was this chipping? So it's great for the student. It's great for the instructor. And basically, I tie in my better players, my collegiate players, my better amateurs with a package. And that would include things like they'll send me their stats. When I review their stats, I might see something and go, hey, there's a drill we did a while back with wedges. I think this would dial you in. Your trajectory should start to get a lot more consistent. So I'm able to use that as a place to put other information that they might be sharing with me as they're out there practicing, scratching their heads. But it's more exclusive. And with that, it allows them access to me on a much more, I guess, frequent basis is what you would say. A tour player is always basically going to have 24/7 because they're playing anywhere in the world. But whoever's on that CoachNow amateur feed of mine, they know that 99% of the time they're going to get an answer before the end of the day. And sometimes you all know this, Alex, you know it, and whoever put this in is the genius, because sometimes really good players just want to know they're doing stuff right. And when you can hit the fist bump like that, that says more words to a really good player than anything else can. So my usage has been one, it's X amount of dollars per year. You have access to me. If by chance they start to send me 54 videos a day, then we have to have a little discussion. But that technically your inner core vetting system seems to help with those things a little bit and the quality of player. So I've used that as a way to go, I'm not here as often as we need to meet on the practice tee, but I'm as close as you can get. And the beauty of it is the impetus and the way the information comes to the instructor is always through the student sending something, going, does this look right? Am I doing the drill right? And for us on the instruction side, that's beautiful, because you just saved a lot of heartache, or you created a learning curve that's way faster than just going out there and doing it on your own.
You touched on some good accountability stuff there, and kind of I always viewed it as like, one of the challenges we have as a coach is how engaged are you going to be? What work are you actually willing to do, right? And so you try to vet them. And so if we can create that accountability and they do engage with the platform, we know they're doing the work. I heard another thing you said that I swear, especially in the beginning, that was kind of the main thing we would get. People would say, and this is across any platform you're going to use, right? They're going to be like, well, what if somebody starts sending me videos every day? And we said, it's probably not going to happen, right? But if it does, you just have a conversation, right? But it is about creating we have to create some sort of clarity around, look, I'm not going to look at every video you have, and it's not going to be helpful for me to draw a line on a video you sent me yesterday and then draw more lines on a video you sent me today. It's just not going to help anybody, right? So we do have to create that level of, hey, here's kind of what's acceptable, but I almost have never seen it happen. It's odd to say, but people just aren't going to do it. They're not going to flood you with videos. In many cases, you're going to be almost kind of pulling at them a little bit. Hey, how's it going? What are you doing? Right? And you want to engage them in that way and get them to share that information. One, so that it's kind of like when we ask questions, right? Like, what are you feeling? What's going on? Right? And then I'm always personally saying, give me context, right? So you're going to post a video. I want to know some information. Don't just post videos for me. Tell me what's going on, right? So why don't we push a little bit further forward here? So, okay, so we have a good solution. Obviously, there are other solutions, but you kind of heard about CoachNow from the video analysis, which is a great piece. talked about using it in golf schools, potentially in that group setting, which I think is really cool, Doug. Um, Joe, you kind of have, the position where we can structure some relationships a little bit differently, where they get access on a different level. And then obviously we have the scheduling. And even if you were someone that wanted to bill up front or that you wanted to bill for packages and automatically track all that, that's something we can do as well. So let's look forward. All right. So kind of the landscape is there's a lot coming into it, I would say right now from technology. Not just in golf, but just in sports in general. We're seeing stuff with AI. So Doug, if you wouldn't mind just kind of expanding, what are some things you would sort of like to do or implement, and then let's talk a little bit about where you potentially see things going with the whole instruction industry and coaching in general.
Yeah, great questions. So, certainly where I personally want to see it go, I love the idea of the lists and the groups and you and I will probably be talking a lot over the next year as I try to figure out how that fits into my business model and stuff like that. But I'd like to create more revenue streams personally. As I get to a point where my kids are out of the house and I may want to go see them wherever they're going to college. My oldest is in Iowa in college, so I want to go watch. He plays baseball. I want to go watch him play baseball. But if I leave the lesson tee, I'm not making money, so I need different revenue streams. So CoachNow certainly allows that to happen when you create. The lists and the groups and stuff like that to where you could potentially create some kind of subscription based model there. I'm currently doing it a lot like Joe, where my groups, whether it's my practice group or my junior group, their interaction is included. I use it as a value add to the fee that I charge. So I charge them up front for it and for the perceived time that I'm going to interact with them and stuff. But to your point, it really doesn't happen that often. Like I'm not getting bombarded with stuff. A few questions, which are great, and then I'll prompt them like, "Hey, tell me what's going on. Like I know you're struggling, so give me some idea. Where's it going? What's it feel like? So it's a great tool that way. So definitely, the revenue streams is where I think it's going. I think people like subscription based stuff. It's kind of the whole world. I mean, how many TV subscriptions do we all have now? It's all
I don't know.
going it's all going that way, so they might as well be paying you $5 or $10 a month, or more or whatever you want to do to get your content and again it's going to help them, they're hearing a consistent message and hopefully they keep moving the needle forward.
Yeah. Well, we'll have some good stuff for you in that way, Doug. We have a kind of a vision for it. And obviously we got to get there, but you can do subscriptions already, so it's just better handling of those subscriptions and then how you package that, right? And that will be one of our goals, so I won't get too much into that. Joe, you mind just kind of covering where you see things going and where you see your coaching business going?
Well, there are a couple of things, and like along the lines of what Doug is looking at, not only additional revenue streams, but Alex, you and I have chatted, and I know any of these type platforms are in a very forward way, so maybe our player has statistical information. Maybe they have launch monitor information. And, thinking forward, is there an AI that could kind of come in there and go, well, here's what this person is launching their wedges at. Here's what this person's spin rate is on their driver. By the way, the stats show that they're hitting one more club into all the par fours. So all of a sudden, what my desire would be is that it doesn't necessarily solve the answer, but there's another button that comes up and it's like, hey, we found something in Alex. You're the coach, but this is what his performance is telling us in his stats. These are the numbers that are coming off of his launch monitor. There seems to be a correlation here. Then I can approach you as a player and go, how's everything going? And you go, oh, I've never hit it better. And then I go, what about those wedges? And you go, oh, they're fine. And go, is there any chance? And it's all of a sudden it makes us look like, how did you know that? Well, at one point, the numbers don't lie, and we have all that information. We're doing it manually, so to speak, right now, and trying to put those pieces and things in together. Then we, as the instructor, can come out and look at the student and go, you know, those wedges you hit when you're on your left foot only, you need to go back and start practicing those from 30 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, and let's watch and let's see what happens. So all that technology and the cool stuff, if it can give us a nudge as an instructor, makes us more timely and more relevant to our students. And it's kind of the whole behind the curtain scenes that just give us a little nudge to kind of go, man, as Doug said, I don't have 25 hours in the day, but if this thing can do work that can give us a 5-second review and go, oh, this is exactly what it is. We're running into the same problem again. And you can move forward from there. And in a very real and serious way, CoachNow, it allows sort of a vetting system to get to come out onto the tee. If you're willing to put that effort in, then you're willing to see an instructor. And that's not necessarily the way I operate. But for all of us, it makes your on tee time that much more valuable, especially if you're running it at a much bigger number, say, you know, like Doug might be, or a Martin Chuck, where you've got so many people on there that your on-time tee, it isn't a new revenue stream. It's just a revenue stream that has a much higher price tag to it.
Good stuff. I think AI is going to be interesting, right? Because it's going to come back to implementation. I heard you made a comment at some point where, you know, I kind of agree with this. I don't think you're not going to replace the coach, right? But it may come a little bit down to some of the people that leverage AI is how do you implement it, right? So how do you allow that to make your business better or potentially your coaching better? So I always kind of felt coming up, it would be, okay, so you can know a lot about the golf swing, but where do you start, right? How do you actually get a person to go there, right? And that's kind of where we look to people like the two of you and say, hey, teach us where you would go, right? Because I can see it, but what do I do, right? How do I actually, where should I start, right? And so similarly, when we look at technology, and there are options out there, right? We're probably all gonna see a lot more. From our perspective, we would look at the automation or the business management, right? Can we make it easier to manage your business? Can we make it more insightful that you know more? Can we connect more things and bring more things in so you have more information within CoachNow? In many ways, kind of with technology, it was like when we first started doing this, we actually didn't even have analysis tools, right? So our goal was just to be the hub, right? So it's like, hey, let's get rid of all the separate conversations, the text to email to WhatsApp to this to that to Facebook to everything else. Let's put it all in one spot, right? Let's container it, makes it easier for the coach, obviously makes it a better experience for the athlete, right? And then let's bring in other things. And in many ways, we did that quite well. And now there's kind of a new surge, right? So we're going to have more technology that will, you know, people will want to share and connect. And then obviously, the big step for our side of things was to bring in that scheduling piece and then to allow for that billing and scheduling and put that all in one place so that athlete has one spot that they go to do all that. So quickly, and then we'll get into some QA. Joe, if you're a coach and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence, what do you got for them? Like, what would you be thinking if you were just considering, hey, should I try to improve the way I'm doing things with some digital coaching tools?
Well, I mean, if you're on the fence, like you said, if Hallett can do it, anybody could do it. And I remember Kevin Sprecher told me once, he goes, you were AI before it ever came along. And I go, well, thank you. He said, yeah, you were an absolute idiot. So at some point, but literally, if you're on the fence about it, I mean, the one thing I always liked from the beginning was the way that it was set up. It was a business expense for the instructor. And in the very beginning, it's like, this is what it costs per year. What you do with this tool is up to you. Now, if you want to add some of these other features, the scheduling is huge. We all don't have enough time. But I mean, if you're on the fence, I'm going to tell you that I'm Alex, and you know this, and it has nothing to do with me. the assistants that I've had that have come in and worked at the academy, the first thing I would do every year is I would set Matt Walter up with, here's your CoachNow account. Oh, thanks. What do I do with it? And I said, well, you could do nothing, or you could figure out how, especially being a social media person, how this can get all those social media people to a different place where it's interaction and it's a community. And if you've got that, I mean, there is literally nothing to lose. It keeps you better connected with your students. In a pinch, when all you have is your phone, you come off looking like a genius when you may not have all the technology that you are normally used to right in front of you. And it's been a lifesaver for me to be a different area to work with students. Yes, they can shoot that to you live, but half the time they're done with practice. Hey, I really struggled today, or today was really great. Here's, as you said, what's the context? Here is what I'm experiencing today. And is this what's it's supposed to feel like? It's absolutely the easiest way to say it. It's no extra work. It's actually less work, and it takes less time. And I think you would find that you would use literally the CoachNow tool to save time and make you more productive.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Joe. He just sold CoachNow. I would say you can find options. CoachNow is a great one, but there might be other solutions as well. So Doug, just a quick thing on just kind of where you would go, or to get somebody over that hump to say, hey, I should be doing this for my students, my athletes.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, that was very well said, because I mean, if you can open up an app on your phone, then you can use CoachNow. I mean, it is that simple. It is super easy. It's very user friendly even once you're inside the app to figure out how to use everything. I had been using, this is the fourth scheduling system that I've used at True North, and it's by far and away the easiest for the students to use. So with my groups and stuff, I try to empower, to save me time and not get all these texts and emails. I try to empower the students to book their sessions online. I've been trying to figure this out for a decade, and with some success with other groups, but always some snags. And this year, we just started using Coach Now Academy. You started using a scheduler. Setting up my schedule was the easiest it's ever been in my 18 years at True North. And getting that information into the students' hands and having them figure it out. I have a lot of students that are, shall we say, a little bit long in the tooth, and they do not do technology very well. And they have figured this out in no time. So that is probably the biggest statement that I would say is like, listen, my clients can figure it out, then you can figure it out, and your clients can figure it out, because I haven't had success with anything prior to this year.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Great to hear, Doug. That's a big props to the team, and I'll relay that to my whole team. That's really great to hear. All right, so we have a little bit of time for some Q&A, and I see Sprecker's actually on the call, Joe, and he says if Hallett can use it, anyone can. Thanks, Kevin. I should give credit to Kevin too. He's man, he's one of the originals. So Kevin, thanks for all your support over the years. It's been you've always been somebody that's been good to us. So that's great. We do have some time for some QA and then just some, kind of brief closing. If you have questions, we're happy to field them. So see some stuff. We just have some OGs on here. Scott Barla saying he remembers when he started with Edufy. Scott, thanks. You've been around a long time too, and another great coach. It's great. We had some great coaches on the call, so it's cool. I always love this when you're supporting your fellows. It's a special time, right? So supporting other coaches, so that's really cool.
Alex, if I can throw one thing in, and I think Doug has figured out a way to do this, but I would tell you that when you look at the cost of CoachNow and you want to do, and Alex, you helped us tremendously. We run a very unique boutique style golf event a couple of times a year out in the Palm Springs area. And the more things that you can add in to make that experience go on is kind of is looking at the people and go, by the way, you're going to sign up for this account. We actually have you signed up. You're going to have access to this for a year. And at a variety of times, we're just going to post some content that we think would be, very beneficial to all the students. Maybe it's a new putting drill. But what we found is in the attendees' mind and the golfers' mind, that's an added bit of swag that they weren't expecting. And the weird part is as we all know, when we do things in a group setting, all of a sudden you meet somebody and you're like, oh, they're from my hometown. You have another way to keep in touch with them. And we now find that through that reach, we're now getting some people that are almost referrals, like 4 steps down. And it's all because of CoachNow, because we wanted to add some values to their experience. And that's been very, very beneficial for us.
Yeah, that is, I mean, like to me, it's like you take that experience, right? And they take that experience with them and they share it with somebody. That's a really cool piece. There's a question about just kind of the next 3 years of CoachNow. I think one of the main things we would say is that we want to be, I guess the best way to say this is the play nice, right? So we want to give you some opportunities to bring in some other tools that you would like to do. But it will be, in many ways, business management, managing customers, knowing what they're doing, giving you more insights in that way. That would be a big vision for the CoachNow team. Obviously, to manage your payments and to have subscriptions in a way that really are insightful and easy for that person to find and get to. We have some big updates coming on that if you're somebody that's on CoachNow Academy with the way your public profile is viewed and people have access to that. So, Brian, I know you kind of were a big supporter of a Coach 360, so it would be fun to have a chat maybe about further. Let's see some other questions in here. There's a lot that just poured in. Hmm. Yeah, this one's kind of sharing data from launch monitors. There's some options there, right? So you can just screen record with OnForm. I've seen a lot of coaches do that. SwingCat, it's very easy to send stuff into CoachNow. And I've seen a lot of coaches do that. We're actually working on making some of that easier. And then there's some other things that are kind of coming along with that. But what I would say is my experience is if you want to get something into CoachNow, it's very easy to do that. There's a question about kind of changing things to a chat way. We really kind of have made it. We made a decision in CoachNow to be very much in cards so that the timestamp and the way things work within that would be very clear, right? And that we wouldn't have kind of a flowing chat, but there may be some ways we can we potentially will change the UI to make that a little bit different where it feels a little bit more chat. Let's see if there's anything else. Wow, thanks. There's a lot. There's going to be some questions too about cost, right? And so I think let's just kind of close and then Adam, if you can help me get that last deck up, and then I'll pass it back to Ryan because I couldn't advance the deck. So Adam, if you can try to get to that. Yeah, so as far as cost and just kind of looking at CoachNow from that, if you scan this QR code, it's going to connect you with one of our sales directors. We're really fortunate, at CoachNow to be on the Golf Genius team and to have that opportunity for you to have like a local sales director that you can connect with. You probably already know them. So scan that, you can set up a call with them, and you can look at some of the pricing on. But CoachNow Academy, I'll just kind of flatly say it's 900 for a coach individual. And then if you had an academy or facility, it would be 3 to 5 coaches, that's 2,700. But the final kind of pricing you can get with that sales director. And Adam, I know you have some points on there. There are some promotions running that are potentially options. So what I would say, if we're good, Ryan, I'll just kind of pass it back to you. We made amazingly perfect time here, and we'll let you do the send off.
All right, fantastic, Alex. Thank you again for hosting. Great session, and to the entire Golf Genius team, we appreciate your support and your partnership. To Joe Hallett and Doug Hammer, been valuable friends of PGA Magazine over the years, and we certainly appreciate your dedication and support to your fellow PGA professionals as well. To all the PGA professionals who joined us today, we trust that you found this time valuable and that the time that you gave today will certainly help you increase your efficiency and save a little time in the long run for your personal lives and your friends and families along the way as well too. So if we can be support, if Golf Genius can be support, please don't hesitate to reach out, and please have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.